What's going on, everyone? Thanks for clicking on the video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the FastSnail wired controller for Nintendo Switch. A quality that I've really come to respect over time, whether it comes from a single individual or an entire company, is that when something is important enough, you do it, even if the odds aren't in your favor. This is the FastSnail wired controller. It's one of the newest controllers designed specifically for the Nintendo Switch. And besides the fact that it looks like it just got out of a 3-day long rave, it's available at the crazy low price of only $16.95. Putting it at that price point makes it officially the most affordable Switch controller currently available for purchase right now. I mean, this thing is almost half the price of the DPad, which is priced at $29.99, and a fraction of the price of the Pro controller, which is $69.99. So some of you guys might be thinking, wow, only $16.95. This thing must be a piece of Well, before you jump to any conclusions, let's just sort of take a couple minutes and review this thing together and see how a $17 Switch controller fares up against a $70 Switch controller. One of the absolute most important factors you need to take into account about the FastSnail controller is that it's a wired USB controller. It's not a USB Type-C controller either, it's just a good old-fashioned USB. The cable itself is exactly 6.5 feet long, which ends up feeling kinda short, especially if you're seated a little further away from your TV while you play. It also doesn't have any rumble or motion control capabilities whatsoever, so you'll be limited to using thumbstick controls in games like Splatoon 2. And now that might not be a big deal for some of you out there, but I know that Splatoon 2 does play very well with motion controls, and they're important to a lot of people within the Splatoon community. But what it lacks in rumble, cable length, and motion controls, I feel like it more than makes up for in its actual form factor. Because just like the Pro controller, the FastSnail wired controller feels really comfortable in your hands. It provides that extra grip that a lot of people with bigger hands, including myself, are looking for out of a Switch controller. However, I do wish that it had just a little bit more weight to it, because the light feeling that it has does leave it feeling a little bit on the cheap side. The button layout is also pretty similar to the Pro controller, but with a few minor changes. For instance, the home button is now a gigantic jewel, making it look even more like an Xbox controller. The start and select buttons have also been moved accordingly to sort of complement the placement of the jewel. And finally, the capture button has been strangely moved to the bottom of the controller, which honestly kind of makes it look kind of unfinished and almost like they forgot about it but added it in last minute. I don't know, it's kind of weird. All of the actual buttons on the controller are just as responsive as you'd hope they'd be, and they don't feel cheap either. However, the L and R triggers are exceptionally clicky. No matter how hard you press them, seriously, it's almost like you're typing away on a mechanical keyboard if you press them fast enough. And it doesn't really help too much either that they're mislabeled as LB and RB instead of ZL and ZR. But besides all of that, we're left with arguably one of the most important elements that separates a good video game controller from a great video game controller, the D-pad. The D-pad on the FastSnail wired controller is not the best D-pad on the Switch right now, but it's also not the worst D-pad. It's not really gonna get in your way with games that don't really rely on heavy use of the D-pad like Breath of the Wild or Mario Kart, but do not buy this thing if you're planning on becoming the next Street Fighter champion, because you won't with this thing. It just doesn't work well with fighting games at all, and it feels kind of like it's trying to be a D-pad and an analog stick at the same time, but it can't really do either job very well. And I would have much rather they just had the traditional plus style design similar to what we already have with the Pro controller. The actual look of the controller itself is pretty cool. I like the clear blue shell, and the LEDs are also a nice touch, but I'm just kind of curious as to why FastSnail chose to invest more resources into something like aesthetics rather than adding in simple functionality like rumble, which has been the standard in console gaming for like what, the past 20 years? But really, at the end of it all, you just have to remember that the FastSnail Switch controller is a budget Switch controller, and you can literally get like 4 of them for the price of one Pro controller. But is that enough to justify it as a solid alternative to the Pro controller? Well, as your main Switch controller, I would definitely say no. I mean, definitely not. You're far better off just saving up and buying a Pro controller. But if you just want to have some extra controllers lying around your house for when you might have some company over and you want to throw down in some 4-player Mario Kart, well then the FastSnail controllers might actually be something that you might want to consider adding to your Switch setup. And if you want a chance to win one of these things for free, I'll be giving away one as well, so definitely check away the giveaway link in the video description down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like it and subscribe for more Switch videos just like this one. Thanks, and have a great day.